They canceled Christmas then threw a party without him. For years, he paid their bills in silence until the betrayal broke him. This is how one man quietly cut off his entire family and walked away forever. My name is Aaron, I'm 33 years old, and for as long as I can remember, Christmas had always been my favorite time of year. It wasn't about the gifts or the food, it was the one time my family managed to pretend they liked each other. Every year, we'd gather at my parents' place, pass around cheap presents wrapped in shiny paper, eat far too much ham, and play the same off-key Christmas tunes on repeat until someone, usually my cousin Jared, knocked over a glass of wine or stumbled over the dog. It was chaotic, noisy, and occasionally laced with passive-aggressive jabs, but it was home. At least, it used to be. This year, I had started planning early. I ordered a few thoughtful gifts and had them shipped out. Nothing too extravagant, just small things I knew they'd enjoy. I bought a new immersion blender for Mom since hers had started billowing smoke during Thanksgiving. I found a pair of limited edition sneakers for my sister, Emily. She never stopped going on about her fashion TikToks. And for Dad, I sent a crate of specialty beers, knowing they'd be gone by Boxing Day. I didn't mind spending the money. My job pays well, and even though I live in a small studio apartment across the state, I'd always helped out when things got tight back home. Rent, utilities, car insurance. I'd quietly send over money whenever Dad would text something vague like, "Can you cover me till Friday?" No questions, no drama, just family. That's why I was floored when, on December 20th, I got a message in our family group chat. It was from Mom, and it read, "Hey kids, after a lot of thought, we're canceling Christmas this year. It's just too expensive to host everyone, and with everything going on, we're keeping it low-key. Love you all." That was it. No calls, no offers to meet halfway. No "we'll make it up to you." Just a cold, impersonal message. I stared at my phone, waiting for it to be a joke, a prank, or some kind of misunderstanding. I sent a reply asking if they were serious, and Emily just responded with a thumbs-up emoji, changing the group chat picture to a stock image of a sad snowman. I didn't argue. I simply replied, "Okay, understood." And that was that. No pushing for a phone call, no guilt-tripping. I told myself, fine. Life gets tight, maybe they just need a quiet year. I went grocery shopping, bought myself a frozen lasagna for Christmas Eve, and tried to make the best of it. I watched Home Alone for what must have been the 15th time, with the pine-scented candle a coworker had given me, and scrolled through Reddit as snow gently fell outside my window. Christmas Day came and went. I slept in, FaceTimed a few friends, and spent most of the day trying not to feel bitter. I told myself, at least you didn't have to listen to Aunt Sherry rant about politics this year. I tried to be mature, to not take it personally. But it gnawed at me. The silence didn't feel right. It wasn't until around 8 p.m. that evening when my phone buzzed with a notification from Instagram. Emily had gone live. Out of curiosity or maybe a twisted sense of hope, I clicked on it, half expecting to see her drinking wine alone, bored. But my stomach dropped. She was at my parents' house. The same house I had offered to help decorate just 2 weeks earlier. The living room looked like something out of a department store window. Twinkling lights, a massive Christmas tree, tinsel strung across every wall. There was a DJ booth near the fireplace, of all places, and people were dancing, plastic cups in hand. At least 30 people packed the house, laughing, cheering, raising champagne glasses. "Merry Christmas from the real crew," Emily shouted into the camera, sweeping it across the room. I saw my cousins, aunts, uncles, even Jerry, already red-faced and slurring his words. Someone popped a confetti cannon, gold streamers flying through the air like fireworks. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering over the leave button. So it wasn't about money. It wasn't about a tight budget, it was about me. I don't know how long I sat there, probably too long. Long enough for the lasagna to go cold. Long enough for the candle to burn halfway down. I didn't cry, I didn't yell, I just sat there, letting the quiet betrayal seep in. They had cut me out silently, cleanly, without any explanation. The next morning, December 26, I got a text from Dad. No Merry Christmas, no how are you. Just, can you send the $3,100 for January, need it by tomorrow if possible. That was it. No mention of the party, no apology, no attempt to explain or even pretend things were normal. Just a cold, dry request for money, as if I were some kind of ATM with no memory. Something inside me snapped. I stared at that message for a long time. Then, I opened my banking app and started scrolling. The rent I'd been paying on the second property my dad had temporarily moved into. Emily's cell phone plan, the Spotify family account I'd been footing the bill for. Even the utilities, gas, electricity, internet, all of it was under my name, all of it coming out of my account. I paused for a moment, not out of doubt, just to make sure I wasn't acting purely out of rage. But no, this wasn't impulsive, this was overdue. I typed a reply, "Lose my number, I don't fund liars." Then I blocked his number. And then, one by one, I started shutting it all down. After sending that final message, "Lose my number, I don't fund liars," I took a deep breath and set to work. I started shutting down every single transfer, autopay, and linked account that had quietly bound me to my family for years. I sat at my kitchen table, laptop open, determination burning under my skin. Every recurring payment was like a thread connecting me to them, and I was cutting each one, slowly but methodically. The rent I'd been covering for my dad's so-called temporary second property. Cancelled. The cell phone plan Emily was still on. Gone. The family Spotify account I'd been paying for, because it's just easier if we're all under the same plan. Done. The utilities, gas, electricity, internet that were all still under my name. One by one, I called each company, waited on hold, and explained the situation. One customer service rep, Susan from the gas company, even paused and said, "That's awful. I hope you're okay." I nodded, a tight smile on my face. "I will be, thanks." I didn't blow up online. I didn't make a scene. I didn't post a public rant about being betrayed by my family. I didn't call to scream at them. I simply severed the ties, quiet and clean, just like they had done to me. By 7:43 a.m. the next day, my phone showed 53 missed calls. I didn't answer a single one, but I did listen to one voicemail. It was my mother. Her voice trembled, barely holding together. "Aaron, please, just call us. There's been a misunderstanding. Please, just call." I didn't delete the message, but I didn't respond either. Because for the first time in years, I felt like I had the upper hand. And I wasn't done yet. I didn't reply that morning. Not that day. Not even the next. Every few hours, my phone buzzed blocked numbers, anonymous voicemails, desperate DMs from distant relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. One cousin sent a message, "Hey man, you didn't miss much. The party was thrown together last minute, no big deal." I didn't dignify it with a reply. Instead, I took a screenshot and added it to a new folder I'd created on my phone, titled Evidence. Because I wasn't just walking away, I was making sure they never pulled this stunt again. By the end of December, the fallout had officially started. The phone plan was deactivated. Emily, ever the drama queen, posted a cryptic story on Instagram about how some people just love to ruin Christmas and hinted at a betrayal in the family. Few of her followers offered sympathy. Most didn't seem to care. She tried to message me a few times, but her messages bounced. She'd forgotten she was blocked. Then Dad tried to reach me by email, his last resort. The subject line simply read, "Urgent, please, Aaron, just talk to us." The email itself was long and meandering, packed with phrases like "You've always been sensitive and you're blowing this out of proportion." He never acknowledged the party, never mentioned the lie. Instead, he talked about how they were in a really tough spot financially and how they'd always trusted me to be there for them. Like always, he signed off with, "You're still our son. Family comes first." I nearly laughed. Now family comes first. I closed the email without replying, but that last line rattled in my brain like a bad jingle I couldn't shake. Family comes first. It was as if they'd suddenly remembered the phrase after things stopped going their way. And maybe it could have ended there, with the quiet satisfaction of cutting off their access to the lifeline they'd always assumed would be there. But then my bank flagged an unusual login attempt. At first, I thought it was a phishing scam, but after a quick call with my bank, they confirmed it. Someone had tried to access my online banking. 3 failed attempts to change the password from a device register under my name. An old iPad I'd left at my parents' house 2 years ago during a visit. I hadn't thought twice about it back then. I'd never even logged out. I stared at the report, my hands shaking slightly. I knew exactly who it was. The next morning, I got in my car and drove straight there. No warning, no heads up. When I arrived, the house looked exactly the same. The Christmas lights still hung outside, half-lit and sagging, with a plastic Santa slumped awkwardly on the lawn. I parked across the street, just sat there for a moment, taking it all in. No laughter, no music, just silence. I rang the bell once. No answer. Then I knocked. Eventually, the door creaked open. Dad stood there, wearing a wrinkled hoodie, hair a mess, eyes heavy with exhaustion like he hadn't slept in days. "Aaron," he said, like he wasn't sure I was real. "Where's the iPad?" I asked, my voice flat. He blinked. "What? The iPad I left here. Where is it?" He shifted uncomfortably. "I don't. I mean, we haven't used it. Maybe Emily." "Save it." I cut him off. "I know someone tried to access my bank account from that device." He opened his mouth, then closed it. "I'm here to collect it, and then I'm done. For good." He didn't argue. He turned and shuffled back inside. I stepped in for just a moment, long enough to see the aftermath. The house was a mess. Trash piled up in the kitchen, empty bottles scattered across the counters. The party's remnants lingered like a ghost, a hollow shell of the fake joke I had plastered across Instagram. Emily appeared at the top of the stairs, her face blotchy, eyes swollen. She opened her mouth probably to deliver some half-baked excuse or apology, but I didn't care. I didn't stop. I didn't even slow down. I grabbed the iPad off the coffee table and turned to leave. "Aaron, wait, can we just talk? 5 minutes, please." I stopped at the door, turned halfway, and met her eyes. "I gave you 5 years, I said quietly. "We're even." Then I walked out, got in my car, and didn't look back. When I got home, I reset every password, disabled every connected device, and called my lawyer friend not to sue, just to get everything in writing. I wanted it airtight, no loopholes, no way for them to weasel back in. A few days later, I got an email from Mom, subject, apology. It was shorter this time, just a few lines. "We made a mistake. We thought you'd always forgive us. We didn't realize how far we'd pushed you. I'm sorry. We all are. Please, if there's any chance we can talk, I'll listen this time, I promise." I didn't reply. Not out of spite, but because sometimes silence is the only language people like that understand. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to rub salt in the wound. I just needed them to know I was done. And judging by the silence that followed, they finally understood. January slipped by in a haze of quiet mornings and cold evenings. I focused on my job, kept my head down, and deliberately stayed off social media. The silence was strange at first. No constant texts asking for a little help, no passive-aggressive reminders that I never visited enough, no last-minute pleas for a loan, just ... peace. Of course, it didn't last. The first crack came from Aunt Meredith. She called from a number I didn't recognize, and curiosity got the better of me, so I picked up. Her voice came sharp and brittle, like she'd been holding back for days. "Aaron," she said, "I'm just calling to say I'm disappointed." I stayed quiet. She continued, "Whatever happened between you and your parents, that's one thing. But you don't turn your back on family, especially when they're struggling." I kept my voice steady, calm. "Meredith, did they tell you why I stopped helping?" A pause. "Then, they said you had a meltdown over not being invited to a last-minute party. That you're overreacting." I let out a slow, measured breath. "Did they also mention that I've been paying their rent for nearly 3 years? That I've been covering Emily's phone bill, Dad's gas, and Mom's grocery deliveries while they posted selfies with champagne glasses? Did they tell you about that?" The pause stretched longer this time. "Well, even if that's true," she finally muttered, "it doesn't justify cutting them off completely." I didn't cut them off, I replied quietly. "They chose to exclude me. I just accepted it." She sighed, a tired, resigned sound. "Aaron, you're better than this." "No," I said softly. "I used to be, but better just made me useful. I'm done being useful." And I hung up before she could say another word. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel sad. I just felt clean. But they weren't done. 2 days later, I came home from work to find a handwritten envelope wedged in my doorframe. It was from my mother. Inside was a letter, 4 pages long, written in cursive, an attempt, I suppose, to make it feel personal. She opened with an apology, tearful and dramatic. She admitted they shouldn't have lied about canceling Christmas. She said she had let Emily take the lead and hadn't wanted to stir things up by insisting I be invited. They thought I'd understand. But what stayed with me was a single line halfway through. We didn't think it would hurt you so badly. We assumed you were used to it by now. I stared at those words until the ink blurred. Used to it. Like it was normal, like I was supposed to accept being left out as a matter of course. I didn't finish the letter. I folded it neatly, slipped it back into the envelope, and placed it in a kitchen drawer, a drawer that held a few other things from them, things I didn't need anymore. I didn't open it again. That night, I got another voicemail, this time from Dad. His voice was tight, clipped, the way it always got when he felt backed into a corner. "You've made your point," he said. "We get it. You're upset. You want to teach us a lesson. Well, congratulations. Everyone's talking. Your aunt's furious. Your sister's humiliated. Your mother, she hasn't slept in days." A long pause. "But don't think you're better than us, Aaron. You're not, you're just bitter. You always have been. And when this phase ends, and it will, you'll come crawling back, just like you always do." He hung up. I didn't delete the voicemail. I replayed it once, then again. Then I hit save. Because that message, that was them. That wasn't a tearful letter. That wasn't a sad emoji in a group chat. That was the truth, the core of who they were. They weren't sorry for what they did. They were sorry I finally stopped letting it slide. The next day, I sat down with a notary and updated the deed transfer for a small plot of land I'd inherited from my grandfather. It had been set to go to Emily after me. Dad had arranged it that way years ago, claiming it should stay in the family, but it was under my name now, fully mine. I signed the paperwork, transferring the land to a local children's charity that builds housing for at-risk youth. I didn't do it out of spite. I did it because I wanted something good to come from it. Something better than what we'd built as a family. 2 days later, Emily called me from a friend's phone. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail anyway. "You're ruining everything, Aaron. You're being so extra. I don't even know what you want from us anymore." She didn't get it. None of them did. I didn't want an apology. I wanted to not need one anymore. I wanted to stop playing the role of the good son, the guy who always showed up, who always smiled, who always funded the lie that everything was fine. A few days later, I got one last letter, no name on the envelope, just my address handwritten in the corner. Inside was a single Polaroid, a group photo from Christmas night. Everyone was there, my parents, Emily, cousins, even Aunt Meredith, laughing, holding drinks, arms around each other in mid-laughter. On the back, someone had written, "We still had a great time." No signature. No message. Just that one line, and I smiled. Because that told me everything I needed to know. They weren't over it. They were still thinking about me. Still trying to prove something, still scrambling to pretend they didn't miss me. That photo stayed on my kitchen counter for a week. I didn't throw it away, not at first. I left it there, face down, almost curious if they'd send another. They didn't, and over the days that followed, something shifted inside me. Not rage, not even sadness, just a strange kind of peace. Like I'd stepped out of a fog I hadn't even realized I was in. For the first time in my adult life, I was completely free. No last-minute bailouts, no guilt trips, no wondering why I always felt like the one carrying the weight of everyone else's choices. Once that fog lifted, the pattern was clear. It wasn't just Christmas. It wasn't just the rent or the phone bill or a party I wasn't invited to. It was years of being their safety net, their scapegoat, their emotional punching bag. Whenever things went wrong, I was the buffer. The one who quietly paid the deposit when Dad got into a fight with the landlord. The one who wired Emily money when she overdrew her account for the 3rd time. The one who footed the bill when Mom wanted to surprise everyone with a birthday cruise for Grandma. No one ever said thank you, not really, and now, with the well finally dry, they weren't scrambling because they missed me. They were scrambling because they missed the version of me they'd created, the one who never said no. I thought a long time about how I wanted to close this chapter, not just fade away, but seal the door shut. So I opened my laptop, pulled up the Google Sheet I'd been keeping for years, my private log of every payment I'd sent them, $1,750 for Emily's braces, $950 for Mom's outpatient surgery, $8,000 for $100 in rent over 27 months, $312 for someone's car repair, still not sure whose. The final total, $38,776, nearly 40 grand. And I'd never once asked for it back, until now. Not for the money, but for the message. I wrote a letter, an actual, printed, signed letter, and sent it to each of them. Mom, Dad, Emily, and Meredith. It read, underscore 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 to whom it may concern. You know who you are. This is not an apology, nor a plea for reconciliation. This is a statement of fact. Over the last several years, I have financially supported this family in ways no one should have been expected to. I did so quietly, without resentment, and always under the belief that I was doing the right thing. That belief was a mistake. I was not helping, I was enabling. What I received in return was not gratitude, but entitlement. I was not treated as a brother, a son, or a loved one. I was treated as a resource, a silent donor to your lives, a background character in your celebrations, a checkbook disguised as a relative. You lied to me, you excluded me. You gaslit me into thinking I was being dramatic for wanting basic decency. That ends now. Enclosed is an itemized summary of the funds I provided over the last 6 years. I am not requesting repayment. Consider it a formal receipt for services rendered. Services I will no longer be offering. Effective immediately, I will no longer be part of this family's group chats. I will no longer cover any expenses, debts, or emergencies. I will no longer attend any events, holidays, or gatherings. I will no longer be spoken of as the one who turned his back. I didn't. You closed the door first. Please do not contact me unless it is to acknowledge this letter and take full responsibility for your actions without excuses, without spin, and without expecting anything in return. I have changed the locks on every door you once slipped through. I suggest you do the same for your own lives. Sincerely, Aaron underscore 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 underscore. I mailed the letter certified. 2 weeks passed, silence, then a single email from Mom, subject, just one thing, I read your letter. I don't agree with everything, but I see your point. I just wish you'd said something sooner, we could have fixed it. That was the closest thing I ever got to an apology. But I didn't respond, because we couldn't have fixed it. They could have, but they chose not to, over and over again. So, I did something I should have done a long time ago. I moved. I found a new apartment in a different city, brighter, with a second bedroom I planned to turn into an art studio. I started painting again. I reconnected with old college friends. I went to therapy. I booked a solo trip to Portugal. I lived, one morning in late spring, as I walked back from the farmer's market with fresh coffee and a bag of tangerines, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I let it ring out, no voicemail, no text, and I didn't care. Because I knew they were still chasing the version of me they had created. But I had finally become the version of me I wanted to be, the kind of man who knows his worth. The kind of man who understands that silence isn't weakness, it's clarity. The kind of man who doesn't chase people who